Hey guys, and welcome back to Cram Farms. Today I am in the garden, and part of that is because we have a frost warning for tonight. So one of the most important things in gardening is to know your first and your last frost date, because that lets you know what amount of time you have as your growing season. Now, as our last frost date approaches, I'm always excited to get things in the garden. However, I always know that the chance of that late season frost still exists. So last week when the weather was in the 70s and 80s and it was beautiful out here and I had on short sleeves and shorts and I didn't need a jacket or a hoodie, I put some warm weather crops in the ground. Well, guess what? We have a frost warning coming tonight. These warm weather loving plants do not like the cold, so I have to do something tonight to protect them or they're gonna die. Well, and die meaning they're gonna get burnt from the freeze. Their leaves will turn like a black brown color, and they're not going to be successful plants in our garden this year. So I'm going to go over a couple ways that you can protect your plants if you don't have row covers and you don't have the metal to put up hoops and stuff. There are other ways you can protect your warm weather crops. Now there are several things in my garden that don't need to be protected at all, and that's because they are fine with some frost. So our frost warning is for about 32 to 35 degrees is the temperature they're expecting us to get down to tonight. So there's plenty of things out here that I don't have to worry about at all. So one of those is your cold crops. My cabbages, my broccoli, cauliflowers, Brussels sprouts, onions. I don't have to worry about any of these things in my garden because they're gonna be just fine out here with the cold. They can take down to a freeze and a little bit below and they will still be just fine. So this is one entire row that I don't have to worry about when I am covering the garden. The next crop is Swiss chard. This Swiss chard will be just fine out here even if the temperatures get a little below freezing. So you'll see my lettuce here. I just transplanted out last week. I have a butter crunch and a red crimson here, and I don't have to worry about covering these as well. They will be just fine for the temperatures we're getting down to tonight. The other things, my kale is gonna be just fine. Peas, they'll be fine. So you can see I've got onions in the front here, radishes in the middle, and more peas on that trellis behind them. I don't have to worry about them at all. Now this is my bed that I have planted in potatoes, and this is one thing that I am gonna have to do. These do not like the frost. They won't do very well. And since we're supposed to get right at that 32 to 35 degree, probably what I'm gonna do with them is just top them with a little bit more dirt and just let them sit for the night. They'll be fine under cover. If the plants were bigger, then I'd worry about getting something over them. But since they're so small, like you can see some of these are just barely starting to peek out of the ground here. Since they're so little, I'm just gonna top them off with a little bit more dirt, and they will be, or either you could use straw or wood chips or something, and they will be fine for the night. Yep, and the same goes for this bed of onions. These were put in February, so they have been out here. They are fine to stay out here in the cold, even if they get a freeze tonight. Same for our shallots here. No worry with the freeze. So things that I will worry a little bit more about would be our fruit trees. You can see that my fruit trees, this is a Granny Smith, and it has already blossomed out for the year. There are no blossoms on it to kill. I'm not gonna worry. And this one is too young to set fruit, so I won't be worrying about my apple tree. Same for this one and the other one over there. So these fruit trees, I'm not gonna really be concerned with. Same goes for these young peach trees over here. We've got this one and the other one. I won't worry about these. They're out here. They have already blossomed out for the year. They don't have any fruit set or anything, so we won't worry about those. Now, here's one of my blueberry bushes though, and you can see where we've got a few blossoms on here. So I will cover this tonight, and it can be something as simple as a sheet, plastic. You just don't want it touching the actual plant because it can absorb that cold and frost and still damage the plant. So you want to make sure it is sitting up off of the plant. There are a couple other things in my garden that are just starting to bloom out. You'll see my sage here is starting to open up. It's going to be beautiful soon. But this is sage from last year, and I want to separate and move it, but I'm actually not going to do it yet because with the freeze coming, I don't want to stress this plant out anymore. then a slight freeze already will. The sage, the rosemary will be okay out here. I'm not gonna worry about it, so I'm not gonna cover them. They can take a little bit of a frost and be okay. You'll see this entire herb bed I planted last year, and you can see it has filled in beautifully. But I'm actually gonna be moving a lot of these things so that they have more space. And there's no need in putting these plants under any more stress, so I'll wait until probably the first week of May when I'm closer to being sure we're not gonna have any more late season frost, and then I'll separate those things out. But now for these plants, yes, beautiful tomatoes. They don't like the cold. One of the things is I don't put everything in the ground, so you will see that I still have tons of plants available to go into the ground. So if something happens to the ones that are already out in the garden, I still have plenty of replacements. Here are some more over here. Now part of this is because I start my plants indoors, and by doing so it allows me to start a lot more plants than I actually need. So what I will do is put some plants in the ground, hold others back so that something happens, it gets kind of cold, we do get a late season frost, and it kills what I've got already out there. I have plenty of replacements that I can then replace them with. Now I know not everybody has that opportunity, but because I have more than what I need, that's kind of just how I do it. And then when I am sure all of our frost has passed and everything that I'm going to put in the garden is in, then I have extras that I can sell. If you don't have row covers, you don't have the material to cover them, you don't have the hoops, there are several other things you might have around your house that you can use to cover your plants. So I'm going to show you what some of those are. Some of them are cheap and free, and you can still protect your plants from the cold. So one of the first things that I am actually going to reach for are cardboard boxes. And we've been saving these all year for the garden from different things. The kids have, look, you can see where they've cut this one open, and like they played houses and built things out of them. But we will use them to protect some of the plants tonight. So we save a ton of cardboard boxes, and we use them for weed barriers in the garden. You'll see down here you'll see it right on the edge. This is cardboard, the ram board paper like you would put down in houses that you're gonna paint to protect the floors. We put this down as our weed barrier on these new in-ground rows this year. Put that down and then put our compost and dirt and everything on top. Wood chipped mulch the walkways, and that is how we have done this entire area so far. However, under my raised beds that we moved, we used cardboard boxes, and I'm going to use those cardboard boxes again to protect these plants tonight. So what you want to do is keep the frost off your plant. That is something as simple as putting cardboard over the top. That plant will be just fine under there. No frost will hit it, and it won't be harmed. The next thing you can use are buckets. So these buckets we got from the deli at our local grocery store, and these are the buckets that they put frosting in to ice the cakes that they do in the deli. So these are completely free. We just go in, ask from time to time, and so we always keep kind of a collection of these buckets. But this bucket will do just like this cardboard box is gonna do. We will simply put it over the top of the plant, and that's where it will sit for the night. Now, of course, if it's windy or something, you're gonna need to put a rock or a brick or something on the top of these boxes and buckets. But these are really cheap ways that you can protect your plants from the frost so that you can take them off the next morning after the frost is gone and keep your plant going. Now here's another one. This is a bucket we had kept just from where it had sheetrock mud in it from when we were doing our house. Works perfect for hauling water and things, and tonight it will also protect a basil or tomato plant. When we go to bed tonight, it's gonna look kind of funny through here with boxes and buckets all over this one row. So I only put in 20 tomato plants the other day, and I did 20 tomato plants, and I think I have about 5 or 6 basil plants in here. So all of those will get covered because they are warm weather crops. And then on the other side where I have lettuce at that end, Swiss chard at the other, and then the entire row of brassicas and onions, I will not bother with them at all. The other thing you can do, depending on your setup, is that you can actually run a sprinkler overnight to water your plants, and that water actually will help to protect them. You would think that it would freeze and destroy the plant, but no. If you actually have a frost coming and you run a sprinkler throughout the night, the hour, you can, if you have a timer that you can set, that's great because you could set it when you know the temperature's about to drop and just let it to do it a little bit past sunrise. Then you help protect your plants that way as well. The other thing I've done in the past is I've used sheets, like old bed sheets, some plastic. You just need some way to keep that fabric off the plant itself, because it will still freeze and damage the leaf if it's laying on top of the plant. So just find some way to elevate and keep it up. If you put, you know, some type of stick in the ground and then drape it over, and you could hold the sides down with a brick or rocks or something, that would help you to protect your plants as well. So that's kind of my plan for tonight, to put some cardboard boxes and buckets over top of these 26 plants that I have out here. It would be a lot worse if I had put everything in the ground, including my peppers and eggplants and everything like new herbs and things like that, but I didn't. I saved some back. I restrained myself a little bit, even though I really wanted to put everything in the ground last week when the weather was so nice. I knew the possibility of a late season frost is not out for our area. Even though we're past our last frost date, we still always have that slight chance, at least for us through the first week of May normally. We need to be really careful. So just paying attention to the weather. If you want to put your warm weather stuff in, go ahead, but also don't put in too much that you don't have a way to make sure you can get everything covered. I know with the amount of boxes and extra buckets we have laying around, we can cover these 26 plants with no problem. And especially where the other fruit trees have already blossomed out, our plums, our peaches and apples, I really don't have to worry about those too much either. The other thing you can use are storage containers. So you have some empty storage containers around. We've got some from where we moved and had them sitting around in our loft, so we can pull those out and use those as well. You look around your house, you can use milk jugs, cut the tops off of them, turn them upside down, put them on your plants. As long as your plants are covered, you'll be safe from tonight's frost. Well, I hope that gave you some ideas. If you have a frost coming, here's some ways you can protect your plants. Even if you're an eager gardener just like me and you want to get your stuff in the ground, it's fine. Just have a way or a plan in place to protect your crops over the freeze. This is our only night we're going down this cold, and then everything else is back into the 40s and 50s. So it's not like we're gonna have to worry about this for a long period of time. This is great for a one night thing, and then hopefully we are in the warm for the rest of the spring and the summer season to come. Thanks so much for joining us at Cram Farms today. I hope this gave you a couple of ideas, and we'll see you next time right here at Cram Farms.